Hello there and welcome to another episode of the program Business 24. We're reaching you from the nation's capital, Abuja. And of course, we're here today at the Abuja Gariki International Market here in the nation's capital. I'm Chibobi Walter Naji. And as usual, I have my colleague Comfort Amodu who is here with me. Comfort, how are you doing?
I'm doing well and I trust you are too. Anyway, it's been pretty cool here in the FCT for the past few days, and this has no doubt affected economic activities, especially for petty business traders around the FCT.
Indeed, Comfort. But I'm sure the rains are also, of course, a blessing to those in the agri sector. However, this week our focus is on the garment and textile industry in Nigeria, considering the revolution already hitting the sector through renewed federal government drive towards its revitalization. Now, how do Nigeria's fashion industry practitioners harness the potentials in this very sector? Now, this package will x-ray that, and we will also be showcasing our regular segments like the entrepreneur segment, export tips, and of course the capital market review, and all will be served just after the break. Do stay with us.
Siren Pacifier Sense, every woman's dream.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, in the past decade, one sector of the economy that has attracted unprecedented attention within and outside the country is the fashion industry, which also includes the textile industry as well. Chimobi Walter Naji walked into a garment making hub for an on-the-spot assessment. Chimobi, how was the atmosphere at the arena?
As we can see, young Nigerians here who are into the business of fashion making. When I say fashion making, from cotton to embroidery and the whole value chain in the fashion industry. These guys are making real money just by cotton materials here in Abuja. It's not as simple as it seems. Tailoring business requires a lot of creativity. Startups may not require formal education, but for these youths, months or even years of apprenticeship is as much hard work. It doesn't matter what you call it, tailoring or fashion designing, this section of the creative industry is increasingly taking the youths out of the labor market and providing alternative source of revenue to the economy too.
This is a good business which means which I can be like encourage one or two other people outside there to join us into, if willingly they will. But I know that with work in our hands, I know that fashion can go ahead and help our Nigerian economy.
So in Nigeria, we have fashion, our own stylists that we made, and we are proud of it. If you look at the one I wear, you know that we are proud of our product, and that is why most of youth we are into fashion designer in Nigeria, and we use it to make a little money from it.
On a global scale, the apparel market is booming with a market value estimate of $3 trillion US. Available data puts the value at $31 billion in sub-Saharan countries. In Nigeria, for instance, the textile industry is only beginning to catch up after post-independence slumber. The changing story is driven by several variables: fast-growing population, huge demand for clothing, fed by access to domestic cotton. This sector now accounts for employment for both Nigerians and expatriates. To accelerate growth, textile and other garments top CBN's list of banned items for forex. What value will these confer on fabric business in Nigeria? Biola Aragbaye abandoned 10 years banking experience for the textile business. What's the lure? I asked her.
Actually, is a good business, because I wish government would be able to help us more, in the sense that there are some things that could be produced here in the country that we don't have to go outside to get. Unfortunately, in the position that we are right now, we have to get the things from outside, and because of the exchange rates, it affects anything that we're going to buy. But there are some things that, like now, Ankara now is everywhere. It's easier to get. But now, if a person wants to sew Ankara, the things that they use to sew them, to beautify the Ankara itself, you have to import them. And that is not too good for the country.
Just like Emeka, who is here by my side and has been into this business in the last 6 years, they believe that with a little push, the business of fashion making in Nigeria will be taken to the highest limits. Yeah, you sure will agree with me that it is still a largely untapped sector with billions of dollars waiting to be made by the industry key players. Still, in the same environment, Kale Adeye also beamed our searchlight on the entire value chain, from designers to bead workers and stones, who are majorly youths without gender bias. Kale, please tell us other things you were able to observe.
When one talks about putting textile materials to good use, Nigeria is undoubtedly a place where that is fully maximized. Despite Nigerians' crave for imported materials, the garment making industry, from every indication, is not daunted. Maybe the country's population of about 200 million people is a factor that has strengthened the competition between locally made wares and those imported. Within the past 1 or 2 decades, it has been an evolution in Nigeria's garment making industry, from improved working equipment and creativity to apprenticeship, and it has been a wide value chain in the industry. Capitalizing on these open opportunities in apparel making, Nigerians without gender bias have seen this particular business as a safe haven that can gainfully engage Nigerians. This money-spinning venture that has been underrated for decades is now experiencing a boom. Kabiru Bello, just 35, is more than 20 years in the garment-making industry. He described the industry as extremely wide to accommodate many interested players owing to its value chain. In his own case, he is into designing, stoning and bead design.
When you choose to be something, you be something in your life. So like this fashion designer, I will not take it as my profession, but when I go into it, I know that I have got a world thing that I need in my life to survive. I was in SS1 when I choose to be practicing of this fashion designer. I learned this. I started this fashion design. I have I do my wedding. I have a lot of things in what human being needs in life. I have my house. In challenges of life, I don't see that there's something bothering me that I cannot feel. I cannot stand on it.
The tale of Bola Kalewasiu Lawal is not in contrast to that of Kabiru.
There are a lot of things that involve in it, such as sewing, stoning, designing, and design itself, they even have a different type of designs, such as this one now. We call it Tinko design. We have Phoenix design, and we have Aikinsama, which the outside used to call it Aikinsama, but they use that Aikinsama to identify the work. And we still have hand knitting design. Get a lot of money there if you have a focus on it and you know what you are doing. Because why I say if you know what you are doing is that now somebody gave you an embroidery to do it for you. I mean to do it for him, and you give him what he doesn't want, so they won't come back. So if you are doing it, you yourself, you will be creative in it.
For Yinka Olatunji, a graduate of mass communication from Adekunle Ajasin University, Akungba Akoko, Ondo State, it is a case of interest and necessity.
You can get as much as 50,000 naira job in more than 3 weeks or 2 weeks. So it depends on how more you get your jobs. If you are designing, you can design for a lot of people. Some people can bring as much as maybe 10 designs for you to do, and it depends on how you charge it, and sometimes it depends on how you charge your customers. And I'm not saying you should charge your customers too much. Of course, you have to know how to balance everything. So I won't say because you are a stoner or because you are a designer you won't make money. You make money. If people don't make money, you won't see people in this market. So I would say there's money in fashion.
Despite the wake-up call, their stories are sending to young Nigerians who are still contemplating which vocation to venture into. Kabiru, Bolakale and Yinka still want intervention from government to address the challenges confronting them, including shortage of power supply.
Well, we're still staying with creativity as we bring you our entrepreneur for the week. The federal government for a long time has advocated the need for youths in the society to be resourceful by being gainfully employed via small and medium-scale enterprises. This is not far-fetched, as it contributes largely to job creation and curbing of youth restiveness. Prince Balogun Solomon, popularly called Prince Praise, has keyed into the vision of the government to engage the youths in positive ventures. He has carved a niche for himself in the fashion industry.
When I finished my O-level, that was 2009. That was when I came to Abuja. Actually, I came intentionally for school, but the person that brought me to Abuja later changed her mind. Like, if you want to go to school now, where will you have money to pay and so on like that? That she doesn't have the power. That's okay, no problem. So then she got me a job of a security, which they pay me 7,000 naira in a month. I had to transfer myself from here to work. So I did it for like 3 months. So while doing it, I was looking for other opportunities. So that was when I met one lady. She just like, why don't you do something, like go and learn something? I was like, where will I start from learning something? She now said, your mom is a tailor and I know you will have idea of tailoring. So why don't you go into tailoring? I was like, oh, actually I started tailoring with just 5,000 naira. Oh, that is the money I paid to learn the work. And I took my time, my morning, afternoon, night, doing when I was learning. The truth is I don't sleep because my boss always work overnight. So when he works, when everybody goes home, I go back to him. So we run night together.
According to Prince, the business began on a small scale, but now the story has changed for good, as it is reckoned by clients within and outside the country, all thanks to his unique styles.
Wow, I think without this fashion, by now, maybe I will be in my village now because, trust me, it has helped me to achieve a lot. Everything I do comes out from this shop. The music I sponsor it from this fashion design, recording songs, videos. It has helped me to meet great men. That's just the truth. This shop we have some clients abroad. That is just the truth. We have in France, we have in Turkey, and we deliver clothes from just this shop to Turkey, to France, and anywhere.
With a boom in the sales and demand, the business boasts several employees and apprentices who are keen on learning the trade. With the highs, Prince Balogun reveals there are also lows.
Without light, we can't work. That is just the plain truth. All the machines here are industrial machines, and we make use of light. Without light, nothing can be done. Except we want to use the manual machine. Even at that, we still need iron. So it's either we use the light or we use gen. And going by gen, it costs us more.
An evolving fashion designer, he is also a recording gospel artist who believes in spinning the creativity wheels. Like every other thriving business, Prince Balogun looks forward to expanding his business globally.
We're of course not done yet. Export, also referred to as the timeless gold of inestimable value, is one of the business that requires adequate information on the part of the exporter. So, let's take those tips from our in-house export expert, Femi Boyede.
People in north central Nigeria, especially Kafanchan and Kachia and what have you, I'm very sure they are now familiar, they are now very, very used to seeing the Asians, Indians around their environments looking for ginger. I'm sure people up north, further up north, are familiar with seeing, again, foreign elements looking for gum arabic and what have you. In southwest Nigeria, you talk about cocoa, which has been for a long, long time one of the leading cash crops that generate foreign exchange for Nigeria. Historically, you talked about the groundnut pyramids, for which Nigeria was well known, and that actually originated from northern Nigeria with Kano as aggregation center. Going south, east, south, you talk about oil palm, you talk about rubber. These are just the leading ones that we're talking about. Now, contemporary exportable items from Nigeria that are actually helping Nigeria to fly, very proudly fly her flag in the non-oil export market. Processed foods. Gone are the days when Gary used to be just in Bako Super Sack. You see how Gary is packaged these days, even off the shelf in ShopRite. I'm sure you must understand what I'm talking about. Poundo yam, packaged foods. You see how Nigerian spices, ready-made pepper soup are made. And of recent, I even saw an egusi that is ready to cook, as in the producer of that particular brand of egusi had actually added all ingredients in moderate recipe proportions. Contemporary Nigerian exportable products. Certainly, every Nigerian exportable product will earn a higher price if there is attention paid to it. That's what we call value added when we're talking about export.
Well, coming up next is a review of the Nigerian capital markets.
The equity capital this week ended 26 July 2019. There was no movement at all. Although the market would have closed negative, but because, maybe because the ministerial list was submitted to the Senate on 23rd of this month, the market gained 1.21% on that day. And that one wrote off all the negative that occurred in the other subsequent days. So the gain or loss by the all-share index was 0, because the all-share index still remained 27,918.59 from 27,919.50 the previous week. So that brought the month to date and quarter to date to still remain the same at 6.83%, and the year to date 11.17% as obtained last week. This week there are numbers of activities that probably helped the market, because some previous week ago the market had been declining. One, the Monetary Policy Committee had a meeting in which they retained all the parameters. For instance, the monetary policy rate still remained at 13.5%, the cash reserve ratio 20.5%, liquidity ratio 30%. Of significance is the CBN measure to really grow the real sector of the economy by imposing import duties, or let me say banning of importation of especially the milk that could be produced in the country. So I think if the policy is religiously followed, I think the capital market will experience a boost in the near future. And of significance is the release of MTN second quarter return, of which 2 Naira was declared as dividend for the shareholders. And because of that, the market also, for MTN, the price also gained 2 Naira today, from 125 Naira to 127 Naira. So I want to believe that by the time some other companies also release their interim reports, the second quarter reports, and probably give interim dividend, we are expecting a stock like Dangote Cement, GTB, Zenith, and whatever to do the same. So the price could experience a positive change.
And the Capital Market Review segment concludes this edition of Business 24. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you had a profitable time. Till we come again next week, I'm Chimobi Walter Naji.
Well, Chimobi, I must say I've learned a whole lot within the 5 minutes that I've stayed here. You can see that I'm already stoning the dress. I hope to make my own dress.
Time will tell.
Very soon.
Time will tell.
I trust it to be beautiful.
Of course.
Well, it was good spending the time with the traders and the garment industry in the market as well. We'll come your way next week again with an exciting episode. I'm comfortable. Bye for now. Well, I have to get back to stoning my dress.